Hi guys, we're going to be working with Blender 3D Paint. I called it that because I have a tendency to use Blender as mainly a texturing and painting tool first, and then I get into doing a lot of other things with animation and modeling and such. First section we want to work on is on a basic UV unwrap. I want to talk about using baking for painting. In that part I would like to talk about how to use like an ambient occlusion bake and a texture bake, pulling in just raw colors as layers that we can use. And I'd also like to look at vertex groups for masking in this section. So I'd like to show you first the example that I've built here. I've got my GLSL turned on, and in this one, this is actually several maps used together, but when shaded in with cycles, all the maps put in, this is the result here on the right. I've gotten quite a few requests before online, either on blenderartist.org or on the Facebook page or on the Blender Hangout page, about people saying they want to know how to paint with cycles. And typically I would recommend doing the painting in Blender Internal and then taking all that and going into cycles. So I want to show you how to do that with this tutorial. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and set up my area. I'd like to work you all the way through this, so I'm going to start with a new file and bring in brand new maps and show you the setup. So I'm going to go to File, New, and here I'm going to get rid of the cube, and I'm going to append that object that I showed you just a second ago. So File, Append, and I need to find the actual model. And I'm going to double check that I don't have materials already on this. I do, so I'm going to get rid of them completely. No textures, no materials. Now the version of Blender I'm using right now is a Google Summer of Code version, because later on I want to show you how some of the tools work with painting. But for right now, this is the setup I'm doing. This here is the object by itself, and there's not a lot to it. This is basically a plane and a circle. This object has got a smooth set on it. Okay, let me show you. If I go to flat surface, then you'll see it's actually kind of lower poly, but in order to get it working where it's still got sharp edges, I have an edge split modifier. If I disable this modifier right now, you'll see what I'm talking about when I go back to smooth. That's smooth by itself, and it kind of looks all rounded, and there are no edges at all. So I've got this modifier in. Default is on 30%, and I don't really like it because you get a lot of errors where it cuts. You get these shadows across the edges. So the split angle at 20 seems to work better for me here. Okay, now to get into painting right away, what we need to do is set up our environment for the painting. Right now we got the camera view. I'm not happy with the camera view right now, so let me go ahead and just do a little trick for fixing it. I'll lock the camera to view, and then I'll zoom in and get where I can see the view maxed out on camera. And that's not bad, but I want to get more of a top view here. Okay, and I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to unlock the camera now. Now with the camera selected, I'm going to put it, I'm actually going to hide it with H. Okay, now also to work with the textures, in order to work well, I need to Shift S cursor to center, and then I'm going to make an array of lights. Right now I've just got the 1 point light, so I'm going to select that, Shift S cursor to, a selection of cursor, and then I'm going to pull it outward. To see what kind of lighting I've got, I'm going to go ahead and put it in texture mode, and you'll see that now it's very dark except for the light coming from the right. What I'm going to do is pull it back enough to where it's just enough light. Okay. Then pressing the period key will put my pivot back at the cursor. So now I can use Alt D to make a duplicate, rotate Y 180. Now I have a light on both sides. I'm going to shift select the previous light, Alt D again, rotate Y 90. Now I have a lot of light, but I'll fix that in a second. Then I'm going to Alt D, rotate X 90. Now I have a lot of light. Okay, then I'm going to select one light, select all by type, lamp. Control G to make a group, and just call these my lights. And now with one of them selected, since they're linked because I use Alt D instead of Shift D, just going here to the settings, I can turn this down to 0.4, and that's enough to see most of what's going on. Distance, I think 50 for the distance. It'll be fine. But since I want to work with these, I don't want them in my way, so we're going to do the same thing again. This time Shift G will select grouped, and I'm just going to hit group, and H to hide. Now select my object, and I'm good to go. Okay, now the reason I've got this UV image editor up here on the right is because I'm going to be using it quite a bit. Unfortunately, this already has a lot of vertex groups already set, and I'll just run you through and show you what they are. But we'll make another custom group so you can see how to make them. Okay, now the UV map's already been done. I'm going to get rid of that UV map and that color, and we're just going to have just this. My object says circle 008. I'm going to put Greeble, renaming it. I'm going to make sure that my object name is just Greeble. Okay. Now we can actually do something. I come in here and I've got all my verts selected. For something mechanical, a lot of times I just use Smart UV Project, and I give an island margin of 0.03 just by tapping that once and hit OK. And for the most part, the mechanical stuff, I don't have that much of an issue as long as I've set that island margin. And then when I do my painting, I've got enough coverage around when we bake. Okay, and now I'm not going to set up a material. Well, yeah, I'll just set up just a basic material, no, just default. But I'm not going to put anything in the slots in my texture stack. I'm just going to leave it blank. But here I'm going to add a new image, and we're going to work with 1024. I'm going to call this AO, and we're going to have it at just this black image, and hit OK. And now because I'm still in edit mode and this image is underneath there, this will work for this. It'll actually work it when I bake. We're going to bake ambient occlusion, so I need to turn that on in my world. So here I have ambient occlusion at 1 and add, and the samples are at 5. I'm going to set this for 10. Normally I would set it for 30, but for right now, for video purposes, I want to make sure I've got some kind of speed here. And all I need to do now is to bake this out. So in the render tabs, I need to shut everything down except for the bake tab. Oh, by the way, closing and opening these tabs is as simple as hitting A. Okay, now it's already set for default full render, so I'm going to change this to ambient occlusion, and it's giving it a margin of 16, so that means when it gets done baking, it's going to actually interpolate the colors around it to go outside the margin that we set and fill in the rest of the image. So just to do it, we're going to bake the ambient occlusion just like that, and we should start seeing the triangles draw, and see them up there on the top right, and you also see it update here because we're in texture mode. You see the ambient occlusion on the object. Now you'll see it's kind of grainy. That's because we're using such low sample range. At only 10, it's not very good, but it's good enough right now as far as what we're doing, because I'm going to just show you the process of the painting, and then we'll open up the other file and I'll show you the finals. Okay, now we have this ambient occlusion. We need to save it. So save as image. Oops, image, save as image. Then under the tutorial textures, I'm going to save it as ambient occlusion PNG. Save. Okay, before I go and put this into the material slot, I'm actually going to use this image to bake on top of again. But what I'm going to do is actually set up some materials. And what I can do is go about setting up materials with colors. So okay, so sorry for that. I had to take a quick answer to something. We've got the material here set up, and if I go into edit mode, it's basically assigned to everything. But here I have actually got different vert groups here that I've already established. So I'm going to assign a color to the decking, and I'll select that, and you'll see that that vert group only selects those there. I go to the materials, set like well, I'll go ahead and set like a bright yellow. We'll pretend like we've got yellow paint in certain areas. So I'll assign that there. Then what we'll do is go back to there, and I'll get the side plates and select those, and we'll go ahead and give it a different material. Plus sign, new. We'll give those more of an orange, and assign that A. Go back here to the extrusion points. Those are the smaller ones there. Select those. I'm going to make those like a blue. Plus sign, new, light blue, assign, and I'm going to keep going back to these different things. Select, and this one I'm going to make a dark gray. And if I tab into object mode, you'll start to see what I'm talking about. Okay, and let me see here. What else? I think the yellow paint, or the color yellow is good for most of that. And I think we can function with this. But I think down in here, that side. Let me see here. I think I had it as a Internal dip. Okay, that one, I want to put the gray on it. So I'm going to assign that. And I'm going to go with that. So now we have these materials. Still, we have no image actually assigned in our texture stack, but that's fine. This is what we're doing. I want to bake these colors to a map, and it's actually faster than ambient occlusion. But what I want to do is go in, select all of this, and now it's sitting on top of this image. It doesn't really matter because I'm not going to save it as this image, but I need something to bake for the purposes of having it assigned but not in a loop. What happens is you can't bake to a texture that's already in the texture stack. You need to bake to something that's outside of the stack so it can write to it. Okay, and I'll come to the Bake tab. I'm going to change this to Textures, and I'm going to bake that. And you'll see the color all filled in. So Image, Save as Image, and here I'm going to put let me see, color flat PNG. Okay, you'll see down here I'm saving as 8-bit because I really need to save space for memory because I'm recording video. In your own personal methods with your computers, you can probably handle a lot more size, but not for when you're recording the video. Found out the hard way. Okay, so now I want to also get a dirty vertex bake. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all these materials here, and I'm going to change this one to just gray or white, and I'm going to go to vertex paint, and here under the paint option, dirty vertex colors, press that, and it doesn't look bad, but I'd like to get it a little darker, so I'm going to hit it one more time, and the highlight angle I'm going to put it 90 so it's more dirt in certain areas. I'm going to try it one more time to get, or twice, to get a little bit darker in there. Okay, and it's showing the texture there because it's attributed to it here. In the material, I'm going to come down, sorry, not shadeless, I'm going to come down here and tell it vertex color paint, and I believe that I can then bake the texture there to this, and since I don't have anything but this material, it should overwrite this image. Let's find out. Baking just the texture still, bake that, and yeah, there we go, we've got our vertex dirt. So Image, Save as Image, dirty vertex, save. So we have a couple of different images available to already start stacking, and we need to cover a couple more things, but this is pretty much it for getting set up. One thing I need to cover, I don't think I said, is on your display shading. You need to make sure you go to GLSL so that you can see things the way, see how the image is actually, the texture is very clear. It's almost like what we'd see in a render right now, and the lighting works better. GLSL will allow us to actually paint the bump maps and such, and that's what I want to show you next on how to set up. We're going to set up in the next part all of our layers and discuss how that works.